Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more. Uh, well, it's actually the first official person we've looked at as far as being of Arab American heritage. And we start this out with a Dr. Michael DeBakey. Now, his actual name wasn't DeBakey. He was likely born Michael DeBakey, and the name was changed, anglicized, because his parents, Shiker and Rahija DeBakey, they made it DeBakey. They were both from Lebanon, Marjayoun, Lebanon, which at that point was Ottoman Syria. Because remember, before World War One, the Middle East was more or less just all Ottoman Empire. So yeah. He was born September 7th, 1908 in Lake Charles, Louisiana. While both his parents were actually from the same place, they did not actually meet until they were actually both living in the U.S. Shiker was a traveling salesman who had settled in Lake Charles in the early 1900s. Particularly in dealing with, as a salesman, dealing with general and drug stores. Both Shiker and Rahija spoke French. So yeah. He was the oldest of 5 children, so. But yeah. Michael DeBakey, or as his actual last name was, DeBakey. Like I said, as we've seen, it was actually anglicized. It was made more English-like. He died not long ago in Houston, Texas, July the 11th, 2008. So he didn't quite hit 100, but he was pretty close. He was an American cardiovascular surgeon, educator, international medical statesman, and pioneer of surgical procedures for treatment of defects and diseases of the cardiovascular system. Yeah, he made a lot of major breakthroughs when it came to medicine, especially dealing with the cardio system, the heart. He would devise the roller pump, which is an essential component of the heart-lung machine that permits open heart surgery to be done. Because if they're going to do surgery, they've got to have your body continuously working to stay alive. And yeah, if they're going to be doing things in the meantime, it can stop such things, which is not good. You'll not live. So yeah, he created part of what would be in that process. He also develops an efficient method of correcting aortic aneurysms by grafting frozen blood vessels to replace diseased vessels. And by 1953, he had developed a technique of using plastic tubing, Dacron, instead of arterial hemografts to replace diseased vessels. In 1953, he performed the first successful carotid endarterectomy for stroke in 1964. The first successful, and in 1964, the first successful coronary artery bypass. And in 1966, the first successful implementation of a ventricular assist device. So yeah, he's responsible for a lot of firsts. Received a Bachelor of Science in 1930, a Master's in 1932, and then a Master's of Science in 1935. All degrees from the Tulane University School of Medicine in New Orleans. He would volunteer for service during World War II, working with the U.S. Surgeon General's office, which would lead to the development of mobile Army surgical hospitals, MASH units, and the Department of Veterans Affairs hospital research system. So, again, he's contributing to a lot of the breakthroughs in medicine. In 1948, he became the professor of surgery and chairman of the Department of Surgery at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, where he served as president from 1969 to 1979, and then as chancellor from 79 to 96. Has several national and international awards, such as the American Medical Association Distinguished Service Award in 1959, the Albert Lasker Award for Clinical Research in 1963. He was a co-recipient of that award. The Eleanor Roosevelt Humanities Award in 1969. The Presidential Medal of Freedom with distinction in 1969. The USSR Academy of Sciences 50th Anniversary Jubilee Medal in 1973. So, yeah, there's an international medal he receives. The Presidential Medal of Science in 1987. Received more than 50 honorary degrees from universities throughout the world. In 1992, he was introduced into the Academy of Athens, a society of scholars generally restricted to Greeks who have made significant contributions to the arts, sciences, or literature. He edited the Yearbook of Surgery 1968 to 70, was the founding editor of the Journal of Vascular Surgery, and served on many medical editorial boards. Among his more than 1,600 professional and lay publications is The New Living Heart, 1997. DeBakey later received the Denton A. Cooley Cardiovascular Surgery Society's Lifetime Achievement Award and was bestowed with the highest and most distinguished civilian award given by Congress, the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor, in 2008. So yeah, if you want to talk about cardiovascular breakthroughs in medicine, this is one of the people you definitely have to think of. Likely not the only one, but definitely one you have to think of. From the National Institutes of Health, I'm sure this profile has probably been wiped by the Trump team, but this is probably an archived file. I've found a lot of archived information, so yeah. Because of the field of medicine has been generally recognized and accepted as an ennobling and genuinely humanitarian field of endeavor, it constitutes one of the strongest bridges across international borders. That was from a letter by DeBakey to President Nixon in 1973 on fostering international alliances, strengthening the alliances and everything with other nations. American surgeon Michael Ellis DeBakey was a legendary physician, educator, and medical statesman. Had a career that was lasted over 75 years, with work that vastly changed cardiovascular surgery and increased medical education standards and influenced national healthcare policy. He was at the forefront of dozens of operative procedures as far as aneurysm repair, coronary bypass, and endarterectomy, which routinely save thousands of lives each year and perform some of the first heart transplants. His inventions include the roller pump, key component from the heart-lung machines that help keep the hearts alive during open heart surgery, as well as artificial hearts and ventricular assist pumps. Yeah. From Baylor University School of Medicine in Houston, he really built up a premier medical center and trained several generations of top surgeons from all over the world. So yeah, he was born September 7th, 1908 in Lake Charles, Louisiana, the child of Lebanese immigrants, Shaker Morris, and Rahija DeBakey. The name was later, as we've already talked about, anglicized and became DeBakey. Father, we've talked about. Family includes Michael's brother Ernest and his sisters Lois, Selma, and Selena. DeBakey said his childhood was fine. He recalled it often with affection. Both parents helped build a feeling of love and learning and a want of discovery, and instilled self-discipline and compassion in the children. Like Michael, the other brother, the younger one, Ernest, also became a surgeon. And Lois and Selma pioneered the field of scientific communications studies. And this, remember, this was like 1930s, 40s, 50s. Women weren't always seen as the right choice for a lot of jobs. Michael studied biology, literature, French, and German, and played the saxophone. Enjoyed Boy Scouts and raising prize-winning vegetables. Did a lot of work with his hands. He and his brother took apart car engines and reassembled them, and his mother taught him how to knit and sew. By the age of 10, he could cut his own shirts from patterns and assemble them. He became interested in medicine through his acquaintance with the physicians that visited his father's drugstore, because remember, his father was a salesman and dealt mainly with drugstores. Went to Tulane University, finishing his pre-medical courses in 2 years, entering Tulane School of Medicine in 1928, and his experience working part-time in surgical research labs led him to choose an academic medical career. Mentored by Rudolph Mattes and Alton Ochsner, both of whom encouraged him to specialize in surgery. His development of the roller pump was while he was still in medical school, so he hadn't even received his medical degree yet. He initially used it for blood transfusions, but it later became one of the major parts of the heart-lung machines that allowed open heart surgery. Earned his MD in 1932 and did an internship at Charity Hospital in New Orleans from 33 to 35. Also carried out research on stomach ulcers, in which he received a Master's of Science in 1935. Encouraged by his mentors to get further surgical training in Europe, he studied a year with René Larouche at the University of Strasbourg, and spent a year working with Martin Kirschner at Heidelberg University. He returns to the States in 1937, joins the Tulane University faculty, and marries Diana Cooper, who is a nursing supervisor at Charity Hospital. They would have 4 sons: Michael, Ernest, Barry, and Dennis. 42 to 46, DeBakey would serve in the Surgical Consultants Division in the Army Surgeon General's office, where he and his colleagues assessed the Army's European medical operations and formulated plans to improve surgical services. They developed the auxiliary surgical groups to provide surgical care to wounded troops near the front lines. They first deployed in 1943. The groups themselves evolved into the Mobile Auxiliary Surgical Hospital Units, MASH, that provided crucial care during the Korean and Vietnam conflicts, which is when the TV show MASH is set, during the Vietnam Wars. So, yeah. After the war ended, DeBakey stayed in service and helped to coordinate medical units to receive vast numbers of returning soldiers until the Veterans Administration hospital system could be brought up to speed. He returned to Tulane University in 1946, but spent several years shuttling to Washington, D.C. to serve on the medical task force of the First Hoover Commission, which was appointed to improve efficiency and effectiveness of government programs. DeBakey was also one of the primary architects of the National Research Council's Medical Follow-Up Agency, which would be established in 1946 and enable follow-up studies on the health of veterans using vast medical records, resources generated during the war. 1948, at Baylor University College of Medicine in Houston, DeBakey was asked to head the Department of Surgery. At the time, it was a small school with no teaching hospital and no clinical faculty, and though it was the designated hub of a planned Texas medical center, the center hadn't yet materialized. Happy at Tulane, DeBakey was skeptical about taking the Baylor job, but finally took the chance. During the first years there, he set up a surgical residency program based on the newly opened Veterans Administration Hospital and local charity hospital, upgraded the medical curriculum, established surgical research labs, raised funds for medical school, and recruited qualified staff and faculty. In 1968, the Baylor College of Medicine separated from Baylor University, and DeBakey served as CEO and then as president from 1969 to 1979, then as chancellor from 1979 to 1986, and chancellor emeritus from 1986 to 2008, all while continuing as the chair of the Department of Surgery until 1993. So, yeah. Let's see. His actual being at the forefront of cardiovascular disease surgical treatments made him worldwide known and brought a lot of fame and acknowledgement to Baylor and its affiliated institutions. So yeah, let's see. Despite all he was doing, he rarely slept more than 5 hours per night and devoted substantial time to surgical research and the development of total and partial mechanical hearts and cardiac assist devices. During the 80s and 90s, he collaborated with NASA engineers to develop a miniaturized axial flow ventricular assist device, the DeBakey VAD, now manufactured by Micromed Technology Incorporated. He also applied his considerable medical expertise and administrative skills to public policy beginning just after World War II and served on the medical task force of the first and second Hoover Commissions, 1946 to 49 and 1953 to 55. He would also play a key role in initiating legislation to establish the National Library of Medicine in 1956 and served for many years on the National Library of Medicine's Board of Regents. He advised many U.S. presidents, being Lyndon B. Johnson at the foremost on healthcare policy, and served on advisory councils of the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, and he also served as a consultant to governments and universities in Europe, the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War, and the Middle and Far East, where he helped establish healthcare systems, including cardiovascular surgery programs. His wife, Diana, would die of a heart attack in 1972. 3 years later, he would marry German actress Kathrin Fehlhaber, and they would have one daughter, Olga. Let's see. He had over 1,600 articles published, as well as books and book chapters. We've talked about his awards. He continued doing surgery until he was 90 and estimated that during the course of his career, he had performed over 60,000 operations and trained several thousand surgeons. In 2006, he suffered a dissecting aneurysm, which was repaired by surgeons he had trained using the techniques he had originated more than 50 years before. He made a good recovery and died, but would die 2 years later, July 11th, 2008, of natural causes. Like I said, he was almost 100. He was 99. Once dubbed the Texas Tornado by cardiologist Paul Dudley White, DeBakey left an astonishing legacy of surgical innovation, medical education and research, and healthcare policy, as well as thousands of patients whose lives were saved by his skills. So yeah, Michael DeBakey. Did surgery up until 90. Yeah, married twice. His first wife, Diana, would die of a heart attack. 5 children altogether, 4 from the first wife, 1 from the second. But yeah, so many awards, so many inventions. But yeah, the guy clearly was well deserved of the honors he received. Because, I mean, just looking at all he did, he made a lot of advances for the field of cardio surgery. But yeah. But we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.